Okay. Boy Kim Cheng, born in 1965, is a Singapore-born Australian poet. He is of Chinese descent. He is widely regarded as one of the most promising Singapore poets to emerge in the 1990s. Boy has published 4 collections of poetry. For his artistic achievements, he received the National Arts Council Young Artist Award in 1996. He taught for 13 years at the University of Newcastle in Australia. In 2016, he joined Nanyang Technological University as an associate professor at its School of Humanities and is currently head of the English department. He is the co-editor of the anthology Contemporary Asian Australian Poets, published in 2014. Boy's works are highly regarded by both the academic and writing communities in Singapore. The poet begins the poem by stating what the planners do. As the poem proceeds, we come to know how the planners achieve what they aim for. Towards the end of the poem, the poet depicts how the planning has affected the poem. Boy Kim Cheng is talking about fast developing modern Singapore. He laments on the disturbing and loss of humane element in his surrounding. He becomes nostalgic about his bonding with the old city. We all can hear the echoes of his words in our own hearts when we come across such modernization around us. We may sympathize with the poet when he declares at the end of the poem that the harsh realities of modernization has numbed his heart. The free verse from the poem is suitable to the free expression of the poet's feelings. Okay, I want you to do a little writing. Just above about the poet, write this. According to the poet, according to the poet, his country, Singapore, his country, Singapore, is being turned, according to the poet, his country, Singapore, is being turned into, is being turned into a concrete jungle, a concrete jungle, losing its heritage in the bargain. Losing its heritage in the bargain. Now, just above the poem, you write down the poem is a criticism. The poem is a criticism of modernization, of modernization at the cost of, at the cost of the country's history, the country's history and heritage. And heritage. So what is he doing? He's looking at his country and he's looking what it was earlier and what it is now. And according to him, man has destroyed his country by concretizing it. All right, so man has done absolutely wrong by technologically developing it because it has lost the essence of its land. That's what he's trying to say. Now let's look at the poem in detail. I want you to have your pens in your hand because there will be lots of figures of speech and things to write after that also. Okay. They plan, they build. All spaces are gridded, filled with permutations of possibilities. First line, they plan, they build. It's a repetition. Repetition, they plan, they build, where they is repeated for poetic effect. You need not write that, that's right repetition. Okay, they plan, they build, it's a repetition. Second line, filled with permutations of possibilities. It's an alliteration where P in permutation and possibilities is written for poetic effect. Alliteration, second line. The buildings are in alignment with the roads which meet the desired points. Linked by bridges, all hang in the grace of mathematics. Linked by bridges all hang. Please bracket that and write down assonance. ASSONENCE. I repeat, ASSONENCE. Okay. What's an assonance? It is a resemblance of sounds of syllables that are nearby words. Alright, that's an assonance. Okay. They build and will not stop. Again, it's an assonance. Even the sea draws back and the skies surrender. The last two lines is an alliteration, where S is repeated in sea, skies, and surrender. Now I'm going to explain only the first stanza to you. Please pay careful attention. Okay, the poet says they plan, they build. Here he's talking about the planners. Okay, that's the name of the poem itself. He's talking about the ones who actually plan on building the entire city. That is that of his country of Singapore. They plan, they build. All spaces are gridded, filled with permutations of possibilities. So there's variation now. They're planning the way the city is looking. They're changing the entire look of the city, so much so that houses are no longer there anymore. There are buildings. And how are these buildings? They are in alignment to the roads. That means they are actually built in such a way that it looks like it's a planned city. And they meet at desired points. They are crossroads, which, of course, is planned, concretized, cemented. Linked by bridges all hang. Why? How are these roads linked together by bridges? And these bridges look like they're suspended in the air. They look like they're hung. In the grace of mathematics, which means they've used their mathematics in every single way. They've used the calculation in every single way and utilized every single space of the country of Singapore. They build and will not stop. And what happens when they built what they desired? They continue to build and they build and build till they do not stop. Even the sea draws back and the skies surrender. They take over even the waters. They take over even places that are not supposed to be human habitation. And the sky is the limit. Sky surrenders. That means even the sky is not, the space in the sky also is not enough for this country to be built further. So, what is the poet trying to tell you? The poet is trying to tell you that planners are the ones who push themselves beyond expectations. They are the ones who push the entire country beyond expectations. Think about it. There was a time when Bombay was considered to be 7 islands. I don't know whether you know it, but you should Google it. Bombay was considered to be 7 islands, and all these islands were only joined by boats. That means Masgon was one island, Dadar was one, Parel was one. Okay, you had like these small islands, and if you wanted to go from one island to another, you had to take a ferry or a boat. Look at Bombay today. Dadar was considered the last terminal. Okay, beyond Dadar, you couldn't travel. There was no means of transportation. Today, Virar is the final destination for Bombay. Look at what has happened to Bombay. Look at how our planners have changed everything. That's exactly what's happening to cities around the world. And here he's specifically speaking about Singapore. He's talking about how what they desire has come true, and they keep planning further and further, so much so that even they've even taken over the seas and the sky. Any problem with the first stanza, children? Anybody? No problem. That's fine. Let's continue. They erase the flaws, the blemishes of the past knock off. Useless blocks with dental dexterity. All gaps are plunged with gleaming gold. Okay. Useless blocks with dental dexterity. Please bracket that. It's an alliteration. Useless blocks with dental dexterity. It's an alliteration. Your DE is repeated in dental and dexterity. Gleaming gold. Next line, gleaming gold. Alliteration, G is repeated in gleaming and in gold. Now, what is the poet saying here? If the city or if the country has any flaw, what do these planners do? They hide everything. They cover up all flaws. So all that is there in the past, all that is a mark of spoil, or all that is a mark of fault in the past, is all covered by the planners. And now it seems like as if with their skills, with their hands, they make the city or they make the country look like gold that is gleaming, shining. It looks like something that's very precious, like it hasn't had any fault at all. The country wears perfect rows of shining teeth. Okay, that's a metaphor. Your shining teeth actually refer to buildings. All right, so it's a metaphor. Write down. Here, the country's buildings are referred to as shining teeth. And by shining, because they're new and they're fresh. Anesthesia, amnesia, hypnosis. What is anesthesia? The country is now controlled by planners. Amnesia. What is amnesia? You don't remember what the country looked like long ago. You only remember what it looks like today. Hypnosis. You're in a trance. You're hypnotic about this new country, about this new world, that you can't remember anything beyond this. That's an alliteration. A is repeated in anesthesia and amnesia. All right, let's continue. They have the means, money. Okay, means is money. So why are these planners so controlling towards us? Why do they put us into this world that they want to see us in? All right. Why is it that they make us forget everything that is our past? Because they have the money, they have the means, they have the resources for us to live this so-called planned life. They have it all, so it will not hurt. It doesn't hurt them at all because they have the money, they have the resources, they have the power. So nothing is here to hurt them. So history is new again. The piling will not stop. So basically, there's no history anymore. There's going to be new and new buildings. Piling here refers to buildings. So there'll be new buildings coming up one after another. The drilling goes right through the fossils of last century. They drill, they dig deep into the roots. Why? Because they want to lay the foundation of a new city, of a new country by having these tall raised buildings. So they drill and drill till the fossils, till all our antiques are drowned, are gone away. And here you have something new in place. But my heart would not bleed poetry, not a single drop to stain the blueprint of our past tomorrow. Okay, so what is the poet saying here? The poet saying, but my heart cannot stop from writing about our glorious past. Okay, bleed poetry refers to writing poetry. His heart cannot stop, and not a single drop can corrupt or can change what he has seen in his yesteryears. So maybe this country, the so-called Singapore, is a new place to be in, but he cannot forget his folklore and what he has been growing up with. The last paragraph, children, is an enjambment. Please write that. E-N, E-N-J-A-M-B, E-N-J-A-M-B, M-E-N-T, M-E-N-T. Okay, what's an enjambment? Write that also next to that. An enjambment is a line. An enjambment is a line that continues on the next line. An enjambment is a line that continues the next line without a pause. Without a pause. Okay? Write down themes. There are three themes. One, preservation of history. First one is preservation of history. Second, nature against the onslaught. Nature against the onslaught. Of urbanization. I'll give you only two. Nature against the onslaught of urbanization. All right. Language used. Language used. First, positive. First, positive. Second, sarcasm. Second, sarcasm. Third, short line. Third, short line. Fourth, criticism. Fourth, criticism. Fifth, use of enjambment. Fifth, use of enjambment. And the sixth, free verse. Free verse, V-E-R-S-E. Okay, write down the message of the poem. There are two points. So write the message. First message, improvement. Improvement and development. Improvement and development is essential. Is essential, but not at the cost. But not at the cost of losing our roots. But not at the cost of losing our roots. Okay, second one, without the past, we will have a country. We will have a country clustered with lifeless structures. With lifeless structures. All right. Children, any problem with this poem? Have we understood it? If yes, please give me a thumbs up so that I go ahead with the drama section. All right. Let's go to page 174. We're doing an enemy of the people. It's quite an interesting story. We're not going to read the entire part. That's your homework, to read the entire story. But what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do your plot, your synopsis, your themes, and I'm going to explain every single main character in the story. Also, I will go back and tell you what you're supposed to do after the chapter from the exam point of view. All right? So remember, in all these three dramas, all three, you are expected to read the story, read the scenes at home, but the entire plot and synopsis will be done by me. Let's start. Sorry. An enemy of the people. Henrik Johan Ibsen was a Norwegian playwright, theatre director, and poet. As one of the founders of modernism in theatre, Ibsen is often referred to as the father of realism and one of the most influential playwrights of his time. In 1869, he began to write prose plays. Some critics would say that at this point in his life, Ibsen abandoned poetry and took up realism. In 1877, he began what became a series of 5 plays in which he examines the moral faults of modern society. In order of appearance, the plays were The Pillars of Society, A Doll's House, Ghosts, An Enemy of the People, and The Wild Duck. Like all of Ibsen's plays, An Enemy of the People was originally written in Norwegian and is full of untranslatable wordplay. Specifically, a number of the characters' titles exist only in Norwegian bureaucracy. The holder of the truth, the man who can see the essence of the situation, is bound to be unpopular, even if the masses catch up with his ideas in due course. That is why Stockman finally sums up the oft quoted line, strongest man in the world is he who stands alone. Okay, I want you to go to page number 176. If you see on top it says dramatis personae. This means important characters in the play. Okay, dramatis personae only means characters in the play. The first character, Dr. Thomas Stockman, the medical officer of the municipal baths. Underline that and write down important in bracket protagonist. Important in bracket protagonist. Okay. Then you have his supporting character, that is his wife, Mrs. Stockman. You have his daughter, who's a teacher. Her name is Petra. Alright, these 3 characters are important. The character that is not important in this scene is Edgelif and Morton, not important. So you can put a star next to them. That means they're not important. Peter Stockman, very important. Alright, he's the mayor of the town and he is also Mrs. Stockman's adoptive father, which means he's Mr. Stockman or Dr. Stockman's father-in-law, adoptive father-in-law. He is the antagonist in the play. That means he's the villain in the play. You have Hofstede, who's the editor, another important character. Billing, not so important. Captain Hoster, not so important. Hofstede is important and Eslaxin is important. He's a printer. I repeat, the characters that are important in this play are Dr. Stockman, Mrs. Stockman, Petra, Peter Stockman, Hofstede, and Aslaxin. All right. Now, I'm going to give you a little gist of the play and then I'm going to read to you the plot. But first, only listen to the gist. Don't bother about anything else. Yes, Parth, you can raise your hand. Yes, Parth, unmute yourself, my dear. I can't hear you. Parth, if you're trying to talk, my dear, please connect because I cannot hear you. For some reason, I cannot hear you still. Can you type in the chat box whatever you want to tell me? I can read maybe whatever is your chat message. Because if it's a problem, then I would like to solve it before I go ahead. Peter Stockman, that's what you're asking me? He was Mrs. Stockman's adoptive father and Dr. Stockman's elder brother. Dr. Stockman's elder brother. That is Peter Stockman. That means his own brother, Dr. Stockman's own brother, is his villain, is his antagonist. Okay, so Dr. Stockman is the one who's the hero of the play, whereas his brother is the villain of the play. Got that? Great. All right, let's start. To give you a plot in short, Dr. Stockman is supposed to be a medical examiner. All right. What's a medical examiner? They check certain things that are under their purview. For example, you can be a medical examiner for a group of officers, or you could be a medical examiner examiners for infrastructure. Like you can examine a building fit for actually staying whatsoever concern. Dr. Stockman was a medical examiner of a municipal bath. What's a municipal bath? It's a spa that is open to public. I don't know whether you'll have learned about the Harappa civilization, but they had something known as the Great Bath. That's a municipal bath where it is open to public, which means lots of crowds are going to be there coming constantly, and it has to be absolutely hygienic. Imagine thousands of people coming and getting infected or getting viral because of the municipal bath that been infected. Okay. Now it so happened that one fine day, Dr. Stockman decided to examine the municipal bath and he found it contaminated. He was absolutely dismissed. And what did he do? He decided to run a clinical test. He ran a test and he was proven right. He was proven right that this municipal bath was contaminated. So he decided that the best way to speak against the government was by putting an article into the newspaper. Now, sadly, his brother, that is Peter Stockman, was the mayor, the governor of this entire estate. So if he had to write an article, it also meant that he was going against his brother. But Dr. Stockman, being someone who is absolutely righteous and didn't care about what the consequences were, decided to go ahead. So what did he do? He decided to expose their corruption by going and meeting two people, Hofstede and Aslaksen. Who was Hofstede? He was the editor of a People's Messenger magazine, and Aslaksen was the printer. So he wanted both of them to give their nod, to give their yes, that they would actually print that particular article. Now, as he enters and as he speaks to them, there comes the mayor, because the mayor finds something is fishy. Dr. Stockman is immediately dismissed by the mayor and he's told that this kind of an article will not be published whatsoever. Now he's hurt, but he wants to save the people of his town. So he decides that he will have a town meeting in one of the town halls, in one of the public halls. And he'll tell everybody of what a disaster is taking place and how they should be away from this municipal bath. However, this meeting turns into an absolute disaster. The people also go against him. In fact, they start targeting his entire family. They pelt stones at his home. They break down his windows. His daughter Petra is thrown out of her teaching job. They have nothing to do. The landlord also wants to throw him out of the job. But he stands firm because he knows difficulties are here. But he has to ignore everything. And he cannot leave town, because if he leaves town, he will show that he's a coward. He'll show that he's wrong when he's not wrong at all. So he decides to stand straight, tall in front of the entire town. His wife is very frightened, but being a true loyal wife, she stands by him. All right. And at the end of it, what happens is what I'll tell you after reading the plot. So let's go to page number 175. Have you understood a little description of the story? I need a thumbs up. I need to know if you all have understood, because only then I will know whether I'm teaching the right thing to you all or no. So have you all understood a little bit of what I have taught you all just now? Great. Let's start. The
Yes, ma'am.
protagonist, okay, protagonist is supposed to be the hero. The protagonist of the play, Dr. Stockman, a medical officer of the municipal baths, suspects that the bath water is contaminated. He is proven right after clinical tests. Therefore, he wants to publish an article and expose the corruption. However, Peter Stockman, his brother, and the mayor of the town and the chairman of the bath committee warns him of terrible consequences for him and his family if he publishes the article. So his brother is not only the mayor, remember, he's the chairman of the bath committee. So he tells him that if you give this article in the paper, it's going to go very bad on your children and on your family. Hofstede, the editor of People's Messenger, and Aslaksen, the printer, are hand in glove with Peter and decide not to publish the article. Hand in glove is to be someone who supports the wrong. So Dr. Stockman decides to hold a town meeting, which turns disastrous, in which town people shout, "He is an enemy of the people." That's where you get the title. Okay, an enemy of the people is none but Dr. Stockman. His home is pelted with stones. Pelted, they throw stones at his house. Windows are smashed. He becomes the target of people's ire. Ire is anger. His contact as medical officer is terminated. His daughter Petra is removed from a job as a teacher. His landlord wants to evict him. Children, give me 1 minute. Huh? Yes, I'm sorry. There was someone who was constantly knocking at my door, and I didn't know why. So I had to go and check that, which is why I had to excuse myself for 1 minute. All right, let's continue. His landlord wants to evict him and his family from their home, but he stands firm in the face of difficulties and ignores Peter's advice to leave the town for a few months. His wife is afraid that people might drive him out of the town. But Dr. Stockman replies that he intends to stay and make the people understand that considerations of expediency turn morality and justice upside down. So he wants the people to know that he's not scared. And he may be expected to run away, but the truth is that will question his morality, and the truth, the justice will be questioned, which is why he decides that he will not run away. What is convenient is not always morally right. Running away is very convenient, but is it right? Not at all. Facing the entire town who hates you for you standing up for the right is what is going to be difficult, but that is morally right. He ends by proclaiming the strongest man in the world is he who stands alone. All right, and at this moment, clearly he is the one standing alone against the whole town. So that what's he ends at. What is the end of the play? It's not really mentioned. All right, so we don't know whether Dr. Stockman was accepted, his truth was accepted. We don't know whether he was dismissed. We don't know whether he was thrown away from town, executed. We have no idea. So let's go through the themes. Dr. Stockman, An Enemy of the People, is a play, a realistic play by Ibsen, boldly tackles the municipal politics of a Norwegian town and exposes the hypocrisy and cowardice of the progressives and the Democrats. So there were two types of parties. One was the Progressive Party and one was Democrats, constantly struggling against each other. Here, both are being hypocrites and both are actually trying to shun away their duties, and that's what's mentioned in the play, that the public baths were not looked after. Like all the plays in this series, moral conflict is a significant element. Who is at moral conflict? It is Dr. Stockman against the entire town. Okay, and why is he conflicting with them? Not because he's proven wrong, but to tell them what is right, and he's ready to stand by it, even if it means against the mayor. In particular, the play focuses on the ways in which an individual can be ostracized. Ostracized is isolated. Okay, by the society he's trying to help. Isn't this true? Most of us, if we try to do something good, the first thing is we are thrown away, we're kept away. All right, not many stand by the right, and if you're standing by the right, you'll see very few who are your companions. The problem of the play's hero, Dr. Stockman, are not far removed from the problems that Ibsen experienced after the publication of Ghosts. In a letter written around the time of the play's composition, Ibsen noted, Dr. Stockman and I got on excellently together. We agree on so many subjects. So even Ibsen wrote about moral plays. And in fact, when he wrote one of his plays, that is the third play, Ghosts, in this series, he was ostracized by his entire township. The poet, the writer was ostracized. So he feels that he resembles with Dr. Stockman very well because he knows what it is like to be thrown away by their entire township. Dr. Stockman, the central character of the play, eventually wins his point, even though by that time he is ahead of the masses. So he wins, but he wins after such a given point in time where he had to struggle a lot and he lost a lot also in the bargain. You will find this play still relevant to our times as Ibsen attacks the social evils of his times, notably the status of women and the squeamishness of the 19th century about the open discussion of moral problems. So, still, if you see, women are not given any substantial roles, and also how people follow the herd mentality. If one is against one, everybody will be against the other, right? So this is what is clearly shown in the play. Now, what is your play? Is it from the start to the end that you have for the scene? No. Your play is the synopsis. Look at this. Page 175. Dr. Stockman has discovered that the new baths built in his town are infected with a deadly disease and instructs the town to repair or close the baths. The mayor, who is Dr. Stockman's brother, does not believe the report and refuses to close the bath because it will cause the financial ruin of the town. Dr. Stockman tries to take his case to the people, but the mayor intercedes and explains to the people how much it will cost to repair the baths. He explains that the doctor is always filled with wild, fanciful ideas. In a public meeting, he has his brother declared enemy of the people. The doctor decides to leave the town, but at the last minute comes to the realization that he must stay and fight for the thing he believes to be right. So, what do you have in the play? You have the fact that doctor has discovered that something wrong is gone. There's a deadly disease. There's a virus that has been infected the bath, and that is why he tells the people not to use the bath. However, his brother decides to tell the people that it's too expensive to repair a bath like that. And he also blames his brother of being delusional and only having fancy wild thoughts. Alright? At first, he's given an advice to his brother that he should leave town and run away. But Dr. Stockman realizes why should he run away when he's done nothing wrong? And that is your synopsis of the play. All you need to know are these characters: Dr. Stockman, his wife Mrs. Stockman, the daughter, the daughter Petra. Then you have Hofstede, who's the editor. You have Aslaksen, who's the printer, and of course the antagonist of the entire play, that is Peter Stockman, who's the mayor and the head or the chairman of the bath committee. All right, these are your characters that you need to remember. Your homework, children. You have to read because everything cannot come on a platter for you, na? We don't do English otherwise. So only for the drama part, you are expected to read every page, every single line of the drama section. Go on to page number 194. All of you. Page 194. These are the questions that could come. Mayor Peter Stockman is a contrast to Dr. Thomas Stockman. Justify. Of course. He's the bad one. He's the one who's only interested in money. He's interested in saving the town's money, which is why he doesn't want to clean up the baths. Whereas Dr. Stockman is a righteous man. Irrespective of what the consequences, he wishes only the good of the people, which is why they are a complete contrast. Write the character sketch of Dr. Stockman. You got to write what kind of a person he is. Anybody can describe him? Give me a few adjectives. Anyone? Anyone who can describe Dr. Stockman? What kind of a person is? He's a medical officer. So what kind of a person could he be? Quickly. Children, you tell, or else we will not know. Come on, quickly. I need at least 3 adjectives for you all to tell me what kind of um a person was Dr. Stockman. Or I'm going to unmute anyone, and that's going to be very bad. So if you don't want me to unmute you all, very quickly, come on, give me 2 or 3 answers, all of you. What kind of a person was he? Idealistic, all right. I'm just giving you a few points. Morally correct, all right. Um, Betrayed by supporters but does not accept defeat very easily. He's a brave man, ready to fight. He's noble because he's bothered about society. So these are the basic characters of Dr. Stockman. All right, let's look at the next one. Complete the following table. The first table, Dr. Stockman. Who is he supported by? Mrs. Stockman and his daughter. Okay, Petra. Peter Stockman, supported by two, Hofstede and Aslaksen, because they are the ones who decide not to publish the article. Aslaksen, supported by Hofstede and Peter Stockman. All right, hope you've got that. Let's go to the match the column. I'm going to give you all the match the column. Write it down, please. Okay, Dr. Stockman, Dr. Thomas Stockman, he's courageous. Dr. Thomas Stockman, courageous. Catherine, timid but supportive. As you read the story, you will know how Catherine also plays an important role. Not really important, so I've not really mentioned it. You don't have to worry. Catherine, timid but supportive. Peter Stockman, Quinn and corrupt. Right? He's someone who's cunning and corrupt. Petra, honest and upright. Petra, honest and upright. Sid, honest. Sid, feeling vulnerable. Feeling vulnerable. And a Slaxon, a coward. A Slaxon is a coward. Okay. Let's go to the next. Describe the climax in your own words. Okay. The climax is the discovery of Dr. Stockman. All right. He realizing that the mayor is someone who's not going to hide who's going to hide the truth. That's the climax. And he not leaving town. That's about it. Nothing more. That's your climax. Okay. Incident description you will do only later. Mm, okay. Go to the setting. The setting of the act is in the office. Explain how it's a proper background. Give me 1 minute. Yeah. So, how is the act a proper background? Okay. It is ideal because it's media, first of all, and it shows how media affects is first of all spreads information far and wide, and how politicians actually control media. One. Okay. Uh, Remember, it's betrayal of truth, and media is supposed to show truth. But the fact that you're betrayed tells you that in the office of the media also you cannot trust anyone. So corruption of the media is shown in this entire setting. Okay. So it's the basically it's the role that media plays in society that shows you through the setting. Explain the use of following property in the development of the play. Let's see the use of the hat. You will get this, children, in as you read it, but I'm giving it to you all in brief. I'm just asking, helping you all. Okay, give me 1 second. Sorry, I have a little cold, which is why. Yeah. So first one, let's look at the hat. The hat is the official hat of the mayor. And here, the mayor is the one who actually is supposed to hold the responsibility of the entire township, but he himself is corrupt. So, hat plays a significant role that tells one who is the hat can also be corrupt most often. All right, that's one. Let's move to the next one. The use of the stick. How is the stick important? The stick is again the official staff, the official stick of the mayor. Okay, because the mayor wants to hide himself from his brother, he leaves his hat and stick in the room, not realizing, or he hides his hat and stick so that nobody catches him. But eventually he's caught. He's also spoken of as being ill or spoken of as being someone who is absolutely corrupt. And after that comes an envelope containing the letter. What is the envelope? The envelope is nothing but the results of Dr. Stockman. And that's very important because only on that proof it is proved that the baths were contaminated. And Dr. Stockman was absolutely right about what he speculated about the baths. And that's what led the whole plot of the play. All right. So these are the kind of questions you will be asked from the examination point of view. Any problem, children? Please raise your hands if you have any problem. Or have we understood an enemy of the people? If you've understood, please give me a thumbs up so that I know. Thank you, Siddesh. Thank you, Part. What is your homework? Can anyone repeat? What is your homework very quickly? Anybody, unmute yourself and tell me what is your homework very quickly. Come on, children. What's your homework supposed to be? You'll have forgotten so fast. Such nuts, you'll have. Okay. Yes, thank you, Parth. Your homework is to read The Enemy of the People, read the entire plot, the entire scene, so that you have a brief idea of what you're going to write from the examination point of view. All right. Thank you very much. You can have a nice day. I will see you all next Tuesday. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye. Take care.